Thanks for jumping into another podcast episode brought to you by Bad Tabletop Gaming. Your hosts are Bill, Armin, Andy, and Dan. If you are a new listener, welcome and thank you for your support. If you're a returning listener, welcome back and thank you for your support. Before we kick this new episode, we want to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Tony at Hammerhead Games, who has a variety of MDF and plastic cut gaming essentials from army trays to objectives and much, much more. And Matt at Pop Goes the Monkey, who has a large inventory of top-notch upgrade bits and specialized add-ons for the models in your collection. Links for both pages can be found in the descriptions of our videos. Lastly, if you like what we are doing, please like, share, and subscribe. Also hit us up in the comments, as we love all the feedback you give us to help us improve the channel and podcasts.
Welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning into the Thousand Suns Legion overview. We're joined with Nick, and we met Nick in LVO at the Horus Heresy tournament, the different events that have been going on there. And I believe it's been at least the last 2 years that we've been running into each other there anyways, so.
Yeah, it's I've been actually running into you here and there at LVO since the year before Thousand Suns actually came out. So it's been a long time. It's been pretty fun. I've had a blast.
Awesome. Well, I guess jumping into it, Thousand Suns, one of the more, I guess, heavily chastised legions based on a few different things.
Well, clearly we got muted for the last podcast that we did about them.
That's right.
The Inquisition tried to.
That's right. They tried to censor us.
That's right.
And this time we're breaking the edict and we're going all the way. All the way.
Apparently, some of the content last time was a violation of the Council of Nicaea, so I guess we're going to be going all the content this time. See if that works.
So I guess first things first, Nick, what drew you to play the Thousand Suns?
Well, a number of things, really. I started playing Warhammer a very long time ago, about over 20 years ago. I don't want to think about how long it's actually been. But when my brother and I got into the hobby, started out playing as Space Wolves, because, I mean, who doesn't want to play Space Vikings?
Right.
And then I started playing as Eldar, because I was coming off of Warhammer Fantasy at the time and wanted to carry my elven force over into the 41st millennium. And playing against my brother for 18 years at the time when I started playing Heresy, the ideal choice for me would be, okay, well, who has the longest feud with the Space Wolves? So I went ahead and dove right into to embrace chaos with the Thousand Suns and their very, very eventful history.
Good old brotherly feud that goes between them. Keep that rolling.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Bill plays Space Wolves himself, so
Indeed I do.
I'm sure he's had some stories.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, some of the most, I guess, climactic battles that I've had were against some of the Thousand Sun armies that I've played, and it's always a tough battle for sure. Enjoyable though, right? Because that rivalry is so big in the game. So
yeah, I don't think I've ever had a game of Heresy against Space Wolves with my Thousand Suns that hasn't been a just close match, and every turn it switches and could be anybody's game. It's the legions are really designed to combat each other. It's really nice to see how well that plays out on the tabletop. when you start throwing them in against the other legions, a lot of it is balanced, but some of it seems that's kind of interesting how that works. But we'll get into that as we really dive into the rules.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. So, I know this army, Legion in particular, has 2 particular, like, Legion-specific rights of war. Oh.
Oh, we got sucked into the warp.
See what's happening, man?
Those
Oh, he's
secrets,
back. See?
Thousand Sun secrets.
Hexagrammic runes. We fought back the warp again. Jeez. Yeah.
I have no idea what happened there.
Zenich happened there,
It
man.
just told me there was
Danger
error.
of ways. Yeah.
That was Zenich right there.
It was just like
I got lost in the warp. I'm sorry.
forgot a
Oh,
couple tunes of
man.
knowledge, right? Yeah.
I love how fate is trying to direct how we do this. Man.
You know, Kairos is behind all of that too.
Wow. All right. So, wow. So, yeah, going back to rights of war, there are
Careful of next words, Bill.
there's 2 Legion specific ones, and they do add quite a bit of I guess extra bonus to the Thousand Suns. Which one is your favorite of the rights of war to use?
So my favorite of the rights of war to use is going to be the Guard of the Crimson King, simply because I use it so often. What it does is it allows you to take Terminators, well, not specifically Terminators, the Sekhmet as compulsory troop choices, and it allows you to deep strike all of your Terminator equipped units along with any of your independent characters, including Magnus the Red. And it has a really fluffy special rule that goes along with it, which is wreathed in lightning they rend the veil. So as your Terminators are appearing through the astral plane onto the battlefield, they're coming into the material plane completely ensorcelled in lightning, and it improves their invulnerable save, not by a number, but it allows them to reroll ones on the battlefield, which it's a pretty cool effect. And I mean, if you want to make your Sekhmet and your Terminators very tanky and be able to absorb as much damage as they can, generally you'll improve their invulnerable save anyway by being from the Raptora cult. So you end up deep striking 3+ invulnerable save Terminators and reroll ones the turn they come down.
Which is super good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the drawbacks to the Right of War aren't really drawbacks. So it's really an auto include. And the other side of the Right of War would be the ability to add a whenever there's a psychic phase, yours or your opponent's, the Thousand Suns player with the Right of War gets to roll an additional d6 and then choose whichever one's higher as the number of warp dice that they get to start with, which means that even on your own psychic phase, your opponent can end up with a lower number of warp dice than you do.
No, that's pretty sweet.
Sounds real
fluffy
greasy.
fluffy for the army of psychers, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
Well, for sure.
I like it.
Yeah, I was reading the fluff. It says in the days before Nikea. So,
Well, you wonder, based off the fluff, if they even remembered Nikea. That's all I gotta say. What would your favorite unit from the Legion-specific troop, like selections, I guess, be from the Thousand Suns?
Well, I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with my Right of War that I prefer, but I would have to go with the Sekhmet. And the reason behind that is their Terminator armor, they get to choose Tartarus or Cataphracti. They're regular Terminators with an additional wound. They're Brotherhood of Psychers level 2, so they get to have 2 different spells, or actually, well, 3, because you're stuck with the cult that you choose originally. So you get the 2 that you roll, and then you get the Primaris.
Yeah.
So they end up with a lot of versatility, and there isn't a bad choice as far as which of the cult arcana they're going with. I mean, it depends on what you're using them for. So it's really comes into army makeup.
Nice. Being able to choose between the Terminator patterns is huge too for that unit. It's sometimes, well, majority of the time, anyways, a lot of the Legion specific units are already like locked into a mark in particular, like the Vangear and whatnot. Like even Tyrant Siege Terminators, right? They're locked in the Cataphractii, so it's like, oh damn. But being able to pick either or is definitely a nice advantage.
Yeah,
So.
and I generally will use both patterns of Terminator armor, so I can have the Cataphractii be able to teleport in and just hold the line wherever they're needed, and use the Tartarus pattern to really act as a pincer unit. So they're able to run, they're able to fire Overwatch, especially with their FX shells for giving them all of their bolter rounds as having the shred special rule is pretty big. And I get a lot of work out of that. And then I mean generally I'll try to charge them into a unit that's engaged with another one of mine, so that they can then overrun and kill the whole unit if they don't kill it on the charge.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. In particular, like they are fairly cheap when you start looking at Legion specific Terminators. I know, like just for what they do, being 255 base and then 35 points for an additional model, it's for the extra wound and just the psychic powers, like they're at least 15 points probably undercosted, which allows like really good pound for point, like what you're actually gonna get squeeze out of them, and having the asterisk shells they're insane. They're super good too. I've been torn up by them many a time, so getting those also just added on is a huge bonus.
It's interesting too that they probably the only Legion specific Terminators that have that option of the dual Terminator armor. I don't know if there is another Terminator unit that's specific to a Legion that can do that. But not only that, but then they also have the Force weapon, right?
Yeah, starting with Force weapons is pretty sweet.
Could be another factor.
Yeah.
Are you a Force weapon or Power Fist kind of guy?
Well, I generally will run a mixture of Force Axes and Chain Fists.
Nice.
Because you have to have something in the unit that can deal with a vehicle. Generally, I'll run 1 Chain Fist for every 5 models in the squad. Consider it like a special weapon.
Yeah. Keeps it also, cheap, because they're not super cheap. 10 points Chain Fist is expensive, so I do the very same.
Yeah. Definitely. And one of the unfortunate parts about the Sekhmet is they're not costed appropriately. So generally I'll try to stick to just 2 or 3 units of them, because you're required to take 2, so maybe I'll take an extra one depending. So because to your point, you said that they should be about 15 points more. I would argue that they should be 40 or 50 points more. If you add up all of their gear and carry it over to the regular Legion Terminators, you're either not paying for your second wound, or you're not paying for Brotherhood of Psychers level 2. So, sorry, second wound and level 2, or level 1 and level 2 for the unit. So it's sure, they're a Legion specific Terminator unit that only has weapon skill 4, but I still feel like you should be paying a bit more for the squad.
Forge World, if you're listening, you heard it here first. Bump them up next FAQ.
You heard it for someone whose favorite unit is the Sekhmet.
That's right. Well, in terms of fluff, I know everybody has their favorite story or just the favorite piece that they read that really sunk the hooks into them. For Thousand Suns, what was your favorite fluff that got you just completely hooked in?
Well, I got hooked into Thousand Suns long before I had read any of the fluff behind them. I love Psychers. I love how the warp works in the 41st millennium and the 31st millennium. So that drew me to Thousand Suns more than anything else. And then I started reading the fluff, and I loved A Thousand Suns. I thought it was a really excellent book, and I thought it was really interesting that it was less of the perspective of Magnus and more of the other praetors of the Legion. So I loved that about it. But my favorite part about The Thousand Suns is the lack of fluff and the lack of writing, giving me complete free range of what I want to do with my battalion in the Legion. I'm building out a full-on battalion, so 5 full companies. And
Damn.
the fluff behind my faction is when Magnus disperses the fleet. Oh, spoilers. When Magnus disperses the fleet, during the fall of Prospero, he does so without warning and just to get them out of the way, so that there's less casualties and less of a chance that there's actually going to be a war. So the fluff behind my battalion is they were being loaded up into the expeditionary fleet when that happened. So they dispersed and went off on their mission to go to go start getting back into the crusade, because they were trying to tone down their psychic abilities so they could get back out into the fray. And then they turn around and find out that, well, Prospero's gone. What happened to the rest of the Legion? And they kind of arrive back on Prospero after the White Scars had come and gone. So they don't find a shard of Magnus. They spend the rest of the Heresy kind of playing out everybody is an enemy. Anyone who had previously shown allegiance to the Thousand Suns could be an ally. And it really fits into the theme of they can be either traitor or loyalist. Doesn't matter. They don't care, because everybody is against them, and they're just trying to figure out what happened and what to do next.
Nice.
Very nice.
Well,
that's the thing about the hobby, right? The thing about the hobby, you're able to just come up with your own story, right? For your own Legion, for your own section of the Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's awesome.
It definitely makes it fun, like forging your own narrative.
Well, it kind of seems like there isn't a whole lot that happens with the Thousand Suns in the Horus Heresy books. There's a couple books where they have like 1 or 2 Thousand Suns, but it's not usually like a whole Legion thing, other than like the Thousand Suns books, which is actually about the Thousand Suns. But like the Outcast Dead, there's one guy, and Dark Abyss, there's 1,000 Suns. They're all super badass, and they all sacrifice themselves. But it's
and they're all doing shit they shouldn't be doing. Let's be real. Let me just mind control that pilot, man. Just give me a second. Like,
yeah. Are you sure you should be doing that? I should not be doing this.
Yeah.
But
look away. Hold on.
Basically, that's
It's a Space Marine Jedi, is what it is.
If I don't do this, you're all dead.
Yeah.
It was so funny because when Bill was listening to the Outcast Dead, the one Psyker or Thousand Suns, he keeps doing all this shady stuff. And Bill's like, that sneaky Thousand Sun, he keeps doing stuff.
Well, okay. So, you might hear spoilers in this, but so when he's holding the Custodes' head and he's doing necromancy to keep it open, like, I'll shut down the security. I was like, That's why you got attacked, man. That's why your planet got bombed, pretty much. Because, like, Jesus. You know it ain't allowed. You know it's not allowed.
He was a prisoner.
Damn. It's there's crazy things that happen in those books.
I would say if anybody's listening and they want to get into Thousand Sons or they're curious about Thousand Sons, I'd listen to the book Thousand Sons, because that's basically like the core of how it works, and explains like how each culture works, and how they kind of started from these poor cultured people on their planet, and Magnus shows up and teaches them.
Yeah. I think the first, one of the books you get a little taste of their character is it Battle for the Abyss?
Yeah, the Dark Abyss.
Yeah, so there's one character in that's kind of joined up with the other Legion characters.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty neat to see his side of things, right? Of course, gets in trouble.
There's another one in Scars too. I thought just had a really cool story, so definitely check that one out too.
Nice. Actually, I'm reading Scars right now.
I will not spoil it for you.
Spoilers. Thank you. I appreciate it. The rest of you can have spoilers, just not me. Oh, man. Awesome. Well, I guess we can...
Scars is one of my favorite books.
Oh, is it? Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
It's just really well written. I loved that book.
Awesome. I'm like 3 hours in on the audiobook, so I'm excited.
So, before we go any further, what's the real question, Bill?
Oh.
What's the real question?
We all know. Was Magnus wrong? Was Magnus wrong?
So, you're asking that differently this time. Was he wrong? No, Magnus was absolutely right in what he was doing. Was he innocent? Also, no. He was completely guilty of the crimes that he was charged with.
That's right, because I remember I asked it very specifically, did Magnus think he was wrong?
And yes, Magnus did think he was wrong after the fact. And the only reason that he thought he was wrong was he saw the damage that he had done to the throne room, and all of the Psykers that he had killed on his way in, and destroyed all of the runes, all the warding, and allowed a demonic incursion. And he saw that coming after he did it.
Yeah, he went Kool-Aid Man basically.
So he
right?
felt very guilty after that, and just decided, you know what? I'll accept punishment. I'm going to disperse my fleet. And I'm not going to warn my children. We're going to let Russ come. He knew it would be Russ. He just didn't know that the order would be manipulated.
Yeah.
So him being the psyker he is, and then I remember listening to this part of he ends up appearing and talking to Logar in one of the books, and it's they're both psykers, right? But it was literally like Logar was almost like spitting in his face for not, in his face for not being, the brother to stand up kind of thing, right? But it was interesting to see just how they interacted with each other compared to like the old rivalries, like Russ and Magnus, and like Logar and Gullman, how they interact. But to see those two kind of talk, it was kind of feel bad for Magnus. He's not loved by anybody. But
no, the only real kinship he has is with On and Sanguinius, and together they started the Librarius project.
Yeah.
Which, ironically, if the council hadn't gone against the Librarius project at Nicaea, the whole heresy would have turned out completely differently.
That is true. Because
at least they were sanctioned at that point.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get into the book now?
Yeah, we may as well
Yeah.
start kicking in, going through. Just start going through the black book and all the. I guess go through all the info a little bit more in depth, just to give anyone who's listening a nice deep overview of what the Legion offers. It's a nice thing. I can start this one off, and then we can kind of take turns, I guess.
Nice.
Kicking
good.
through, like when you first look, there's special rules, Covenant of Sorcerers. So during the army list creation for 1,000 Suns, you must determine your warlord first, and pretty much your warlord has to have a mastery level of at least 1, be the highest leadership as well. The nice thing is being able to actually take Psyker HQs is huge. They also benefit from prospering lore, so they have access to all the psychic disciplines found, except for the Malefic Demonology one. But it also applies to these rules apply to the following HQs and whatnot. So you can have mastery level of 1, and you can go all the way up to, I believe it's 3 for the Praetors and whatnot. Yeah.
Correct.
So, and then have a force weapon equipped for 5 points. That alone is really good. I think being able to take Psyker HQs in that way makes librarians obviously redundant in the point where you don't really need them.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get a lot of psychic juice just out of your comp HQs. So it's a nice way to save characters.
Who doesn't want to take a psychic siege breaker? I mean, come on.
That'd be so good. That'd be awesome.
I was thinking more of like
spoilers for the next LVO.
more attack.
More time. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Try and give him like rerolls and stuff.
Yeah. Damn, that'd be pretty good. Then they also have a Cult Arcana rule. So each unit with the special rule, their owning player must select one of the Cult Arcanas during their creation, and you gain the benefits when some of them are really good from this list below. Comp troop choices within the army must have the same Arcana as the army's warlord, and in the case of an allied detachment, the same Arcana as the detachment's comp HQ choice. So at least there's a little bit of structure there, as you'll want to have them from the same cult.
Mm-hmm.
And what's nice with that is each cult arcana has an associated discipline, and if the unit has its powers drawn from the matching discipline of their choosing, they may manifest powers when making psychic tests on a 3+ rather than a 4+, which would normally be the case. Just that alone, right?
That did get retconned.
Oh, did it?
In the FAQ, they changed how the Cult Arcana works. So they got rid of the casting on 3+ rather than 4+.
Okay.
And they made it so you have to choose your powers from the discipline associated with the cult that you've
Oh, okay,
chosen,
nice.
Which also kind of that change also kind of retcons the Prospering Lore the Prospering Lore special rule, because there isn't a discipline associated with Sanctic Demonology, so you can't choose from it.
Oh, I see. I see. Yeah. Huh.
So you'd just be rolling for 4s for Sanctic then.
Yeah. But you're rolling for 4s for everything, because they just removed the line that says you cast on 3+ rather than 4+.
Oh, okay, nice.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Perfect.
Honestly, you're not paying for that special rule, so you should be casting on 4s anyway.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. The last little section here under the 1,000 Suns rules is signs and portents. Actually, before we jump too far, the Cult Arcana, just to finish that off, they do have some really cool bonuses. So when you're going through, you can pick a bunch of different styles. Each one has a good bonus. Pavoni, they get quick blood, so they add +1 to its run, sweeping advanced distances. which at the beginning may not seem like horrible, like a good thing, but it's pretty good if you're able to actually get across the board faster. If you're getting that much closer scoring, I know I've lost a game not being within 3 inches of that objective, right? But that extra inch can help.
Having that rule on a couple of my veteran squads has won me games just by being able to make a last ditch run and have +1 to it and cap an objective and turn the tide in my favor. So definitely worthwhile.
There you go.
Yeah, there you heard it first here. Raptora, they get kind shields out of the effect. So the unit gains a 6+ invulnerable save, or if it possesses an invulnerable save from another source, it increases by 1 to a max of 3+. Just with that, you're starting to be able to see where some of these combos come from, especially with using segment and whatnot, right? Like,
yeah, this is the one that gets abused by Terminators. Just make.
I mean, the other part of that is think about taking breachers in a Zone Mortalis game where having 5 guys next to each other increases their invulnerable save by 1, and then Raptora increases their invulnerable save again.
Oh, damn! I didn't even think about that. That could be really good, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, damn. That is good.
Yeah, and then if you throw a Deradeo in there, you end up with a 3+ invulnerable save against shooting and close combat.
Oh, damn.
All that trickery. All that trickery.
Some nice combos, right? There's a good stack there.
I think you're tempting Bill to switch sides here.
No, never. Never. The Corvidae Arcana, Precognitive Strike. The unit must reroll failed to hit rolls of 1 when making shooting attacks if it remains stationary in this turn's movement phase. Is it super good? You know what? I do think it could lend itself to a specific build if you're running a lot of plasma support squads or seekers with combi plasmas, veteran combi plasmas, right? Like, I really think you could have a lot of fun with this. For sure.
I use it mostly on my heavy support marines and my quad mortars.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who doesn't want to reroll ones on a quad launcher?
Yeah. That'd be actually really good.
Well, they're standing still anyways.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or suddenly your missiles and las cannons reroll those ones and you only miss on 2s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could combo it up with a psychic master signal. Just get right out of go right out there, man. Like, holy. +1 to hit, rerolling 1s. It's never failing.
Norse cover, whatever, right?
Yeah, anything you want, really. That'd be great. That'd be great.
It's if you're building a heavy support company, the Corvidae is definitely the cult for you.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt. Athenane, yeah. Mental fortitude. So they're immune to fear and they have the adamantium will special rule. Still pretty good. Being immune to fear is a thing in 30k if you guys aren't super familiar, because it's not like 40k where they shall have no fear, so it's pretty good. I could see where that would be nice to be able to, I guess, plan to take on some of those scarier units.
Well, if you're fighting a lot of demons,
yeah. And then the Pyre, they have Ashen Blow. They gain Hammer of Wrath special rule, and if you already have it, you get an additional Hammer of Wrath special rule when you charge, which extra attacks always that, like, especially that initiative step 10 is pretty good. I can see where some of the really good ones are, right? Like, for me, obviously, Raptora and Corvidae are really, really jumping out at me, but I can see the utility for all of these, so pretty good.
And in my opinion, it's all about having a well-rounded list. So a lot of the time, unless I'm keep striking 30 or 40 Terminators, then I'll generally have a nice mix of them. One of the most interesting list that I've designed recently that I'm considering bringing to LVO ends up with all of the cults represented in it.
Nice.
That's awesome. Kind of get specialized, right? When you're building a list like that, which is nice because with the way even the LVO missions have been going, narrative heavy with troops and objectives and whatnot, having that well-rounded list to be able to deal with multiple things is huge. It's definitely worthwhile to build your list around that. One
Definitely.
of the
and
go ahead.
say if the SoCal Open is any indication of what the next LVO is going to be like. For those who don't know, Zach, who's actually a member of my gaming group, Warmongers, is running this first Heresy event at SoCal Open and is going to be running LVO as well in
Yes, sir.
2021.
Yeah, it should be
Bill
really
passed
good.
the torch.
Yeah, it should be really good. I am looking forward to seeing what Zach throws together for LVO, the Heresy part. It's going to be pretty exciting, I think. I have been peeking a little bit at the that SoCal PDF he dropped, and some really good stuff in there. So I can only imagine how good it's going to be. I'm definitely looking forward to doing that myself. So returning it and getting to play is going to be a lot of fun, actually. So I'll bring you to compliance one way or another, Nick. Don't worry.
I look forward to it.
So
I have a long list of grudge matches that need to happen this year. So.
Oh, awesome. One of the final rules here under the Thousand Suns, like Legion Astartes rules, is Signs and Portents. So basically, if any unit within Thousand Suns detachment suffers a wound as a result of perils of the warp test, the detachment's controlling player must immediately take a pinning test for every unit in their force. It's kind of almost like that psychic backlash goes through.
Yeah.
And if all the independent character units in Thousand Suns detachment have been slain, all surviving units in that detachment are -1 leadership penalty for the rest of the game and can no longer make sweeping advances. That one almost feels like a precursor to what they'll actually become, right? Like without the leaders or the HQs to send them into battle, they just kind of slow down and just become automatons basically. So
yeah, and I think it's a great special rule. I mean, yes, it's a negative special rule, which a lot of people just don't think it's going to happen very often, so it's not really a drawback. And you think that, and then you have 90% of your army pinned on turn 1 when you fail your first psychic test, and then you lose your entire first round of shooting.
yeah,
it costs
that would hurt.
games. It's painful. And I love the nail in the coffin of after all of your characters had died, you can no longer make sweeping advances and you have -1 leadership. So if you hadn't already lost the game, you have now.
That's that reminds me of my Ultramarines. Lose my HQ, give a point, and the Marines start taking some pinning checks too, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Very similar. Very similar, like kind of organization, the way that Word Bears have theirs too. Just some of the similar rules, like the Prospering Lore, or being able to take Brotherhood of Psychers, and I make comparisons with this in Burning Lore and being able to take like Dark Channeling and whatnot. It's always worth upgrading to the max, right? Like especially when bringing out like Mastery level 3 characters or 2 characters, it really amps up the flavor. So it's pretty neat.
Definitely, and I mean I'm guilty of bringing my regular Praetor, not a named character. Oh, I mean I've named him. Up to Psychic Mastery level 4 by also taking the sacrificial. I don't even remember what the special item is called, but it's one of the The
Sircana or
new Arcana item.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Sircana.
Yeah, it's one of the Sircana
Okay,
items.
in book
And it's
8, yeah.
Sacrificial offering. That's the one.
Very
Sacrificial
nice.
offering, which you lose at the beginning of the game. The person who's making the sacrificial offering loses a wound. You gain a psychic level.
Oh damn. It's pretty good.
Trickery.
Is that traders only or no? That's anybody?
No, that's anybody.
That's
Getting ideas,
that's
Bill.
anybody. But
Ideas.
typically, if you're not playing Thousand Suns, your psychers only have 2 wounds, so you're starting the game with 1 wound, which is painful. And it's not likely that you're going to be able to get that wound back easily.
Yeah. That makes things interesting. I could take. Well, yeah, I could take a level 3 rune priest, right? It could be pretty sweet.
Yeah, you can.
There's armor you can buy
you
to give you
can.
an extra wound, so you don't care about that 1 wound anyways.
But the keyword's Praetor, though.
Praetor.
Isn't it?
Oh, is it Praetor only?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, no. That is a Praetor though. So I mean, he's got.
Yeah.
He outclasses
Everybody.
I mean, he can go toe to toe with some Primarchs. So,
Yeah.
no,
definitely
I mean, he'll
good.
lose eventually, but he can give them a run for their money.
Oh man, that could be so good.
Just jack them up on Biomancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's typically what I do, which does mean that when I'm running him, 2 Sekhmet squads that go along with him are also on Biomancy because of Cult Arcana.
Very nice.
Because the compulsory troop has to be the same as your warlord.
Now we're getting into like the Legion specific units.
Yeah.
And the Legion war gear.
That's right.
I can read in this file.
Sure.
Thousand Suns Praetors. They're able to purchase mastery levels 1 to 3, 25 points each. They're also able to upgrade their force weapon for 5 points. They get better options for weapons, but it's still fluffy if you wanted to have like a force weapon. And having mastery level 3. I think Nick was talking last time about how it starts getting super expensive once you start like getting into a Praetor and start like giving them the upgrades like Power Fists or Paragon Blades or whatever, Iron Halos, and then you get like a mastery level 3 for your right, because that's one of the limitations.
Yeah.
So, like, what's the most expensive you think you've ever made a Praetor?
Well, I mean, my Praetor is usually 295 points. But the most expensive that I've made, the most expensive I've made is 310.
Oh, yeah,
310. Oh shit! Isn't that like 15 points away from post Istavan? Korax?
Right? And that's because he ends up in Terminator armor with digital weapons. He has a master crafted weapon. He has FX shells. He has psychic mastery level 3, and then he has divining blades. I mean, he ends up with a lot of gear that adds up very quickly.
Yeah. Because Divining Blades is like, what, 55 points?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I think it's 50 points for if he's already equipped with Terminator armor, but if he's not equipped with Terminator armor, it's 55 or something like that. I don't remember. I don't use them very often, so.
But yeah, it's...
That's expensive.
It can get crazy.
No doubt.
So, in addition to their usual upgrades, Thousand Suns veterans and Legion Terminator squads can buy a mastery level of 1 for 25 points each. So they become Brotherhood of Psychers.
Yeah.
And they basically, I think Terminators become like baby Sekhmet then. And
exactly.
Then vets, you can give them another upgrade, which could be could enforce like your tank hunter vets or your scouting vets or whatever you're deciding to do with your vets. So it could be an awesome upgrade.
Just more magic everywhere.
Yeah,
That is true, yeah.
And it makes them very versatile. So you have units that are doing everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's...
It could be good and crazy with depending on what cult you choose, right? So.
Yeah.
And then we joked about this for a long time. The arcane litanies.
It's not a soul stone. Oh shit.
Yeah, because someone was like, "Oh, is it just like a soul stone?" And I'm like, "No, it's just a piece
That was
of paper."
me. I was
You
like,
just
"Oh."
read from it.
That was me. I'm like, "Oh, it's a soul stone." They're like, "No, it's like literally a piece of paper." I'm like, "Oh God, well, Jesus."
It's a piece of paper that it's encrusted with gemstones. Really.
Oh,
They're not soul
shit.
stones.
Oh man.
So any independent character that's 1,000 Suns, with at least one mastery level of 1 can be equipped with it for 10 points. And what it does is it ignores the first Perils of the Warp test that you have to take. So it's just an automatic. Oh, I got I Perils. Oh, I got this piece of paper. It's gone. It's done. I don't have to Perils anymore.
Yeah, no, that's
So
perfect.
it's nice. I like it.
Get out of jail free card.
Yeah,
pretty
really.
much. Yeah.
Especially if anybody in your army fails or takes a perils check, you're gonna be taking pinning pinning text. That's on everyone in your army. Yeah. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble with speech today, apparently.
It may be that trip.
It's
warp.
in each, man.
Yeah.
The trip to the warp.
Part of me is still there.
And then the next war gear is an Athane fire cannon. It's basically a plasma cannon with soul blaze. So it's kind of a fluffy plasma cannon. It's still 36, strength 7, AP 2, heavy 1, blast 3 inches. Still gets hot. It's just an upgrade for 10 points a model.
Yeah.
It's a little pricey, but if you want to go for that fluff, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, and I remember talking about that comboing up with Corvidae, right? Like heavy support squads. You can get that.
You get to reroll that
once.
one,
Yeah.
and you're because you're able to reroll ones, you're giving the whole unit the ability to reroll both the scatter and the distance dice for the plasma cannon shot. It makes plasma cannons a really viable choice for that heavy support unit.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
And then the fan favorite, the aspect shells.
Oh man.
Weapons using aspect shells gain shred. Independent characters can buy them for 10 points. It is equipped to their bolt pistol, bolt gun, combi bolter, and the bolter for combi weapons. Legion Terminators and Legion Vet squads can buy them for 20 points per squad, which is dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
And rotor cannons can be equipped with them for 25 points
per squad. Yeah.
Which makes
per squad.
Which makes rotor cannons viable.
Yeah,
I mean, 6 shots at strength 3 when you pick up shred. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think that can be downplayed. Like shred on anything bolter is just super good. Like super good.
If you played enough like 40k and 30k, you know that bolters are, they're bolters, but you've seen them take down Terminators, you've seen them do this just with the mass amount of fire. And now that you have, so even on Terminators with the twin link bolters, you're re-rolling to hit and then you're re-rolling to wound. So you basically you should get a high number of wounds out of that.
Yeah.
And probably probably the only time you'll see rotor cannons.
Probably. It's on 1,000 Suns.
I haven't seen them, but be something I'd play with if I was playing 1,000 Suns.
Oh, definitely.
For sure.
They're really effective in Zone Mortale.
Nice.
As 1,000 Suns.
Mm-hmm.
FX shells.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that. Especially 20 points per squad. We're running 10-man bet squads all day.
Yep.
Someone want to read the Dreadnought?
Yeah, I got the Dreadnought here. So the Osiren Dreadnoughts. It's a Contemptor variant for the Thousand Suns. Pretty much they come in a Talon. You can actually upgrade, I believe, a regular Contemptor Talon for 50 points each, and they retain all the options of the standard Contemptor Dreadnought. But they gain Psychic Pilot special rule, so Mastery level 1, and they can generate their power from either Telekinesis, Telepathy, Pyromancy, and Divination disciplines on a Dreadnought. That's pretty cool. They also get Adamantium Will special rule, and the Osiren Dreadnought must exchange its starting Dreadnought close combat weapon with the inbuilt Combi Bolter for a Dreadnought Force Blade with inbuilt Combi Bolter and Asphyx shells for free. So that Dreadnought Force Blade is Strength times 2, AP 2, and has Force.
Yeah.
Very useful.
Yeah.
Which is that's scary.
It destroys large units of Mechanicum robots because they're monstrous creatures and they're still susceptible to force.
Yeah.
Demons
Good
too.
against demons.
Yeah. Sure, just tear it up.
Oh yeah. The Osiren is I would have to say the Osiren's my second favorite unit. It's Thousand Sun specific unit.
It's a good looking model too.
I was going to say, it's a pretty cool looking model.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, out of the Contemptor specific, yeah.
And it's been FAQ'd to be elite, right? Because I know it was kind of questionable on the book here, so.
Yeah, the book has the HQ icon next to it. It doesn't specify if it's HQ or not. They did fix that. They did FAQ it to make it an elite choice. Nice. But for a limited time, it was nice to be able to think of having a unit of 3 Dreadnoughts as your HQ choice.
Yeah, it's kind of, because it says any Contemptor Dreadnought Talon can be upgraded to an Siren, so it'd still take its place as the elite, right? That's what I look at. But I could see where there could be a little bit of confusion there. All good.
Yeah.
So I guess we got we talked a bit on the Rite of Wars.
Yeah, a little bit. We can go over that Axis of Disillusion.
Okay.
Sure, I can take that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the Axis of Disillusion, the first effect is the Alembic of Adamant, where models with the Legions Astartes Thousand Suns special rule are part of this force and using this Rite of War automatically pass morale checks or pinning tests they are called to make within 6 inches of an objective, which is really nice because it stops you from being feared or panicked off of an objective, and you don't give ground very easily. The Caustic of Grace, models with the Legions of Astartes Thousand Sun special rule that are part of a force using this Rite of War may fire Overwatch at Ballistic Skill 2. Potentially really useful in certain situations. The transition of Vitriol, you may reroll failed to hit and to wound rolls for models with this special rule, or models with Legions of Astartes Thousand Suns, against enemy models that are falling back. Drawbacks, the limitations, the troop choices for a detachment using this Rite of War must be made up of units that are at their maximum possible size. So it gets kind of expensive when you're trying to build an army around this special rule.
Yeah, that can be a downside.
And detachments using this Rite of War may not take more vehicles with the tank or flyer type than they have infantry units in the detachment, which is kind of difficult to do when you're forced to take your troop choices at maximum size, so it's not really a drawback. This Rite of War, I feel, is going to be most effective in a Zone Mortalis situation. I don't really see it being played at in the general tournament scene outside of Zone War Talents.
I think we were talking last time about breachers being affecting breachers really good because of the ballistic skill from the Overwatch and the morale and pinning thing from objectives and shooting people in the back when they're running.
Yeah, definitely, because you're probably not going to be running away. You have a larger chance of breaking your opponent first because you're not going to break. And then when they flee down corridors, so there's nowhere to go. You just shoot them.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It is for sure. Oh, there was a part too I wanted to touch back again on for that Guard of the Crimson King. That last bullet point with the bidding of the Crimson King. If you want to go over that stuff.
Oh. Yeah, I'll go through the Guard of the Crimson King as well, just to make sure we're all caught up. So Astral Warfare, that's the special rule that allows you to roll the extra d6 in the Psychic phase, regardless if it's your turn or not, and you choose the highest one. Read the Lightning, they rent the Veil. 1 point on there that I didn't mention is the turn the Terminators do come down, they also cause fear. So there's fear popping up again. In Heresy, that's not as easy to work around as it is in 40k or previous editions of 40k. Initiates of the Scarab, Sekhmet Cabals must be taken as compulsory troop choices, and may also be taken as additional troop choices if desired. And then the Bidding of the Crimson King, the Primarch Magnus the Red may be selected as a compulsory HQ choice for the detachment, and does not count as a Lord of War if he's used in this way.
That's the main seller right there.
Yeah. Coupled with the limitations, though. So detachments using the Right of War must choose a Warlord with at least a Psychic Mastery level of 3. So you can use Magnus, Ahriman, a Praetor, or any of the other named characters. Actually, there's only one other named character, so scratch that. Detachments using the Right of War may not have more vehicle types of any kind than they have Legions Astartes, or units with the Legions Astartes special rule, and the detachments using this Right of War may not take allied detachments or fortifications of any kind. Note that it does not have a limitation on Lords of War, so you can run Magnus as your HQ and still take a Lord of War option, which is pretty nuts.
Yeah, that Right of War is so good. Because from those familiar with some of the other generic Rights of War, this is pretty much if Primarch's Chosen and Pride of the Legion had a baby. Right? Like, it's for what you get out of it, it's huge, and the limitations really aren't limitations at all, especially like when you're building this kind of a list. It's really, really good.
It's built around you playing with Magnus, anyways.
I was going to say, I think the Bidding of the Crimson King should really be the Primarch Magnus the Red should be selected. Not they should be selected.
Yeah, for sure.
May be selected as a compulsory HQ and should be selected as a compulsory.
No, it's a pretty good Right of War, Legion specific, compared to a lot of like other legions.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, it basically it gives you the fluff that you're adding to your Legion, and then, as Bill put it, it combines that Right of War with Primarch's Chosen and
Pride.
What's the other one? Pride of the Legion.
Yeah.
It doesn't help that Magnus makes Terminators troops. So
yeah. So so when you have Magnus in there, you have both your regular Terminators, your veterans, and your Sekhmet all as troops.
Yeah.
It's force in your hand, man.
Which means that the rest of you...
It's doing.
Which means the rest of your army is up whatever you want it to be. Which is also why I generally run a lot of Terminators in my army.
I would too.
I think you had some good words about the Battle on Tamanta last time, Bill, if you want to...
Oh, yeah. So the Catholics Akia Battle Elementa, these are a really good unit. 135 points apiece. They're your standard Automata, right? Weapon skill 3, strength 6, T7, 4 wounds, 4 initiative. What's really nice about these is Mauler pattern bolter cannons with aspect shells, and we know how good those are just from talking about what they do. 2 power claws, each with built-in bolters and aspect shells, which is really good still. And then refractor fields, so you're rocking that 5+ invulnerable. The nice thing with these units, and it's been used on me several times, is the side control matrix special rule. So what this has is a couple different points on here. Psychometric control. So while at least one of these units with Psycho Mastery level of at least 1 is within 24 inches of a Battle Elementa Mana Bolt to start a controlling phase, it can be used normally, so it kind of counteracts that program behavior rule, which is cool. It's like a free Cortex controller. And then if not the case, then yeah, you can't make charge, run, or sweeping advance moves, which is basically program behavior. They have to engage or fire what's closest. The nice thing with this is volley of fire, being able to fire the 3 weapons of their choice in the shooting phase, which is huge because you can fire everything all the time. And then Psi Locus, when using Witchfire or Malediction types of psychic powers within 12 inches of a Catholic's Akia, Psychers with the Legion of Astartes 1000 Suns special rule may use one of the models as an origin point of the power, drawing line of sight and range from it rather than themselves. So, being able to cast powers pretty much like for real around corners and whatnot is super, super good. I don't even know if it comes up as much as it should for like in games with like the Psylocus, but these automata themselves are really, really good. And the last point is relying on binding. If a psyker of any kind, friend or foe, suffers the perils of the warp within 12 inches of a Catholics unit, roll a separate leadership for any Catholics units in range. If any roll is failed, the unit in question suffers D6 wounds with norm or saves or invulnerable saves possible. So that's like they're super sensitive to the psychic backlash, basically.
Yeah, I mean, they are being used as a conduit for that, so it really makes sense that if the Psyker perils while casting through it, that robot is also going to suffer
be really bad,
a lot of that backlash.
Yeah, no doubt. And then if any of the Catholics that are destroyed as a result of this immediately explode with their maximum blast radius, which is pretty good. We've all died from explosions, so we know how well that can be. The crazy thing with this, though, for what you're getting for 135 points, like it's amazing. They have rage special rule, they have they will not die special rule, and they have fearless. And when you're comparing them to some of these other pound for pound units like Iron Circle, for instance, these things I think are better in a lot of ways. Just being able to take more of them because they're cheaper by 80 points, and basically, yeah, it will not die with rage is just it's huge. It's really, really good. Like these hit hard. So
you can upgrade them to have plasma cannons, or sorry, the ether flame cannons for 15 points.
Yeah.
So
the model is gorgeous.
The models, they're quite nice.
Nice looking model.
Slick. Yeah.
But yeah, this is just a nice backline or moving up in the front, like distraction that you really don't want to get hit with, and being able to act as a conduit for psychic powers. It's just these are very, very nice units. Devastating to play against, especially if you got a player who's utilizing them to the like max potential. So.
And we got next up is the Sekhmet. Well,
what
else can we say? We've talked about them.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Damn good.
So after that, we have the Kentai Occult Blade Cabal.
Yeah.
So these guys, I guess they're elite choice. They're kind of like your specific Legion veterans almost, right?
Yeah.
Weapon skill 5. Otherwise, their stats are just like veterans. So they're pretty interesting because they have 2 force swords that they come with.
Yeah.
Old pistols. They're in power armor, so armor 3. Gotta watch out with that. Brotherhood of Psychers, mastery level 1. And then we have Mind Song of Blades. So depending on the number of models in the squad, each model gains a bonus to their characteristics. So if numbers 3 or less, they get +1 attack. If the squad numbers between 4 and 8, they get +1 attack, +1 weapon skill each. And if the squad is 9 to 10, +2 attacks and +1 weapon skill each. So you can actually only add up to another 5 for maximum of 10. For the squad.
It's still 51 attacks on the chart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Force weapon attacks.
Yeah.
So.
It's
And there's a couple other upgrades, the usual, plasma pistol, hand flamers, melt bombs. The Blade Master could have Artificer armor as well. And their dedicated transport, Rhinos, Land Raiders, Phobos, or Proteus as dedicated. So
you're only going with the Phobos.
Yeah.
There's no reason to run a Rhino or a Proteus.
Yeah. You're definitely not going to maximize your rules that way, that's for sure.
No, but it's nice. You can put that Raider into the slot, right?
Yeah.
If you're using this unit.
This feels to me like you really want to be rocking that Pavoni and take advantage of them being able just to chew through units and then getting +1 for your run and sweep. Like, that's a squad that's just going to be just rolling through.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you think about, you're going to be killing the squad to a man anyway on the charge with all of those attacks. Why not also go with Pyre? Take the
Hammer
of Wrath attacks.
Hammer of Wrath.
Just do a bunch more damage.
Yep. No, that's really good.
The only one that I don't think I would take on this squad is Corvidae.
Yeah, because there's no shooting other than your pistol, so.
Sure.
I mean,
agreed.
giving them Fearless could give you an edge in a lot of situations. So, I mean, even taking Athenaean would be a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and that weapon skill 5 is nothing to frown out either. Considering majority of the time you're probably going to be weapon skill 6. Yeah, it's just you'll be chewing through a lot of hammer units that way.
I almost feel like the Mind Song of Blades is backwards. You should be more buffed as you get whittled down, so that you're not as beefy at the start.
And next unit we got is this Amatara Occult Intercession Cabal. This one's an interesting one because I don't think they have models for these ones yet.
No.
They do not, much to my dismay. I would definitely buy those models.
Forge roll.
That's actually why I don't run them, is because I haven't figured out how I want to build them.
So if you're listening, get this man some models.
And if anyone else,
I want to give you money.
Oh, that's right.
Basically.
Yeah.
And if anyone has their own version of them, please share them on our page or Instagram or whatever. So
yeah, shoot us a message, show us pictures, because we'd love to see what you did, and it would be nice to see what the community's doing for the stopgap, anyways. And 9 times out of 10, I gotta admit, like, sometimes those stopgap models are either the same or sometimes better because they have like their own flavor for that unit, right? So definitely don't be afraid to convert and get those units rolling.
So stat line wise, you're pretty much your basic Marine or veteran. With ballistic skill 5 and Yeah, save
Sniper
of 4+,
rifles.
right? So yeah, sniper rifles, shroud bombs, scout armor, and special rules. They have stealth, move through cover, infiltrate, scout, and again, Brotherhood of Psychers level 1. And they have, instead of, I guess, generating psychic discipline normally, the Cabal has access to a single unique power, Mind Killer. And I'll read that. So Mind Killer, it's a blessing, which targets the Psycho unit. While the power is in effect, the unit may re-roll all its fail to hit and to wound rolls, and all of its shooting attacks gain ignores cover special rule, and it's a warp charge too. So some nice little bonuses from that for that blessing.
Yeah.
Dangerous to cast though. You're really risking, if you want to min max that, you need to be rolling at least 4 dice on that check, and you're increasing the odds of that peril.
That's true.
It is a very good spell on a very good unit. You're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, and then you're wounding on 4+ and rerolling fails, and then ignoring their cover. Oh, and also you have rending.
Yeah, you're waiting for those 6s.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's true. And another interesting about these guys is their dedicated transport is a Storm Eagle.
Yes, I remember that coming up last round.
I think that's more of like, kind of like, Storm Eagle drops them down, drops them in, and they do their whole
very
stuff,
quiet
right?
Storm Eagle.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. They
that's
use
just it. Yeah,
powers to cancel the noise or something.
yeah. Drop us in so we can
pull
scout it out.
Pull one of those. You don't hear us, kind of thing, right? Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Coming in at 135 points, you're paying an extra 10 points on top of a regular Recon Marine unit upgraded with sniper rifles, except that you're losing the ability to hold objectives.
Yeah.
So it's a significant trade, and I mean one that you really have to design a force around.
Yeah, no doubt. And of course, they have other options too, right? Melt guns, plasma guns, all that stuff. But yeah, definitely one of the weirder units, I would say, for myself. But
yeah, less utilized too. Like, I don't think I've actually seen, models aside, I don't think I've ever actually seen anyone run them.
No.
So
one day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Guess then we're going into characters.
That's right. Some of the heavy hitters in the Heresy fluff.
I'll kick it off with Azek Ahriman. So basic Praetor stat line. Except he only has 3 attacks opposed to the 4 that Praetor normally has. He is in Artificer armor. He has a mastercrafted bolt pistol with a fixed shell. He has a mastercrafted force axe, an iron halo, arcane litanies, and frag and crack grenades. So he's sitting at a 2+ save, 4+ invulnerable save, and he's only 225 points. The special rules include Psyker Master level 4, always generating his powers from the Divination discipline. He has a pre-assigned Cult Arcana, which is Corvidae. He has Adamantian Will, Precision Strikes, basic independent character stuff. He's marked by Fates, which is for obviously characters that are still alive in 40k after the Heresy, or generally have this special rule. It's for campaign purposes, which in campaign games where character casualties and injuries between battle is a factor, any such chart result may be re-rolled. So it stops him from dying basically between games.
Yeah.
And he has Ahriman's Cabal. Any Legion command squad taken for Ahriman must be upgraded to have Brotherhood of Psychers Mastery level 2 for 50 points, and they must also have the Cult Arcana Corvidae and generate their psychic powers from the Divination discipline. Great special rule. Gives him his command squad a lot of fluff. One of my only issues with with that special rule is that there isn't a version of it that applies to regular command squads. You have Legion veterans and Legion Terminator squads being able to be Brotherhood of Psychers. Your command squads, which are better than veterans, can't be Psychers. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, small oversight for sure. Although it is nice considering, like, for 50 points on your command squad, and just based off hearing what your Praetors are normally for points cost, like, this guy's getting 3 mastery levels for free basically. So it's kind of a nice trade-off where you can amp up your command squad for that extra fluff feel.
Definitely, and I mean, well worth the investment. He's hard to not include in your army, although I do a pretty good job of not using him. And then his warlord trait is Pattern of Fates. If Ahriman is your warlord, then he always has this unique warlord trait, which is pick up to 3 troop units in your army with the Legions of Astartes Thousand Sun special rule before your army is deployed. These units gain the Scout special rule, which is also really useful.
Just being able to move models for free in the beginning is good, or making them outflank, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how you want to play them. I imagine a lot of Thousand Suns players would play with Magnus, but if you don't, I think Ahriman's a good second
in command.
Yeah.
Scouts won me many a game, so getting that is always a bonus.
Yep.
Definitely.
Next, we got Ben Kingsley.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Magistrate Aemon, the Hidden One, Captain of the Ninth Fellowship. I'm not going to read all his titles. He's got like 10 more. His war gear is the Armor of Shades. The Armor Shade provides a 2+ armor save. In addition, grants the bearer a 4+ cover save. If Aemon is in the open or adds 2+ to another cover save, he may be eligible to claim to a maximum of 2+, which is awesome. If he's in ruins, he's basically got a 2+ cover save, which is better than most invulns, right?
What to say? Night Lords ain't got shit.
If Aemon joins another unit, they gain a 6+ cover save in the open, or gain an additional bonus to any cover save they're eligible to claim to a maximum of 2+. So, I mean, it's pretty good if he can join a unit. I mean, he does have infiltrate, so he's going to have to join. He can't join units in the beginning unless they're scouts or other infiltrating units. But as soon as he joins another unit, they basically become unmovable.
Yeah.
Once they get into the terrain. He's got a mastercrafted force sword. It's straightforward. Archaeotech pistol. The Dust of the Devourers. So this is a pretty interesting staff. He's got once per game in the assault phase, instead of attacking normally, Aemon's controlling player can choose to opt instead to unleash the power of the Dust of Devourers. This attack is struck at Aemon's normal initiative and inflicts D6 automatic hits on the unit Aemon is fighting. If it is comprised of 5 models or less, and 2d6 automatic hits if the unit is comprised of 6 models or more. These hits have no strength value but have the poison 4+ and concussive special rule, and an AP value of 4. So it's very interesting.
So nod to fluff too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically, the fluff is that he's got the ghosts of these psychic eating bugs from their home planet in his staff. But being able to automatically hit, if anyone plays 40k and plays flamers, they know that's nice to have.
Yeah.
And poison 4+ is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, sure, if you're fighting other marines, but if you're going up against, say, like a toughness 5 demon, or even you're getting into the toughness 7 mechanicum, you're just hitting on 4s, and it's nice to have, and concussive as well.
Yeah, is concussive taking effect at his initiative, right?
So
he's initiative 5. So
it's the next round that they would concuss. But
no, I get it. But like, if he's he's initiative 5, and he does wounds to whatever, knocks him down.
Yeah.
Next initiative step. Now all your other guys, if he's with anybody or whatnot, fighting with people, right? He's just letting them strike before everybody else. Yeah. It's pretty good support to staff.
The AP4, while it might not seem like a big deal, it can actually be quite handy to get rid of those nasty tech thralls, especially those big fearless bubbles, right? Getting the 2d6 hits just to kind of wipe out and push some of those blob squads out of your way. Just additionally is quite nice. So
a lot of demons start at a 4+ armor save too. So
that is true.
He's got arcane litany, so he does have a little toilet paper roll that says he can't ignores his first perils. Flag and crack grenade.
I love the toilet paper roll. So just wipes his ass with the warp and just it's done. Oh yeah, that's what you need to do from now on.
I'll have to remember to bring a toilet paper roll with me as my arcane.
Oh god.
Just attach it to your belt.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, so he's weapon skill 6. He's basically a Praetor. Ballistic skill 5, strength 4, toughness 4, 3 wounds, initiative 5, 3 attacks, leadership 10, 2+ armor. His special rules, he does have access to 2 cults, Corvidae and Athane. So you get to pick from either one of those, depending which way you want to go with him. He is a mastery at level 3, which is pretty nice. He generates his powers from divination and telepathy. So depending on like how you want him to either be a support character, or you can have him. You try to use telepathy powers like causing fear tests and all that shenanigans. It just depends on what kind of role you want him in. Independent character, hidden servants, and secret scrying. Scrying, yeah. If an army has Amon as part of its primary detachment, then its controlling player may re-roll attempts to seize the initiative. In addition, enemy units arriving via outflank may not enter play within 24 inches of Amon, or they cannot deep strike within 12 inches of him. So
that's really
pretty good that you can re-roll the siege, and being able to be a buffer bubble from stopping people from outflanking or deep striking within your little bubble, I think is pretty good just to have him, because he does have infiltrate, so you can literally put him anywhere on the board within reason.
It's like a mini version of that area strike that custodians get, right? It's pretty sweet actually.
So I'm thinking if you're worried about one side getting overrun by certain sides, because we all know how javelins work, and outflanking, and so if you have one side that's weaker than the other, you can put them on that side, and you can stop people from outflanking on that side. Or if you're worried about deep striking leviathans, and then it pushes them back so they can't drop within 12 inches of certain things if you want to protect certain vehicles or whatever, right?
Yeah, no, that is pretty good.
So he's pretty good that way.
He's only 170.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Dirt cheap for what he does.
Oh yeah.
Like he doesn't even need to be the warlord. Like you just take him. He does have mastery of the Legion, so you can take him. You can just take him as a primary HQ if you want. Take rights with him. Infiltrate. He does have a warlord trait. which is Lord of Hidden Paths. Rather than generating a warlord trait, he gets this unique one. If Amon is your warlord, you may select a single non-super heavy unit in your army. This unit now enters play from reserve using the Outflank special rule on any turn you specify. The specific turn can be any after the first turn, and you must make a note of its secrecy after the army has been set up. So it's basically kind of like the Emperor's Children, right? But you just get one. You just get to pick one unit though, which could be nice if you're trying to outflank certain units. You know, Sekhmet, or if anyone else has any other, or even like
Castellax,
tank
Battle Automata.
Yeah,
Castellax,
yeah,
yeah.
He's just a sneaky little git.
yeah,
For
pretty
real.
much.
With his abilities and whatnot, he's as sneaky as any Raven Guard is, and as using the shadows as Night Lords do, kind of thing, right? Like he just has some really good abilities for either using cover to his advantage or bringing in a unit from outflanking to that bubble of preventing.
Well, I'm even thinking like bringing on like a squadron of Vindicators or laser destroyer Vindicators, right, on turn 2, and they're coming on.
Yeah.
Machine Spirit, drive on, and just you get the flank to like your whole opponent's army. That could be super good.
So I mean, like, yeah, I don't know, because he's basically the master of secrets for Thousand Suns. Like when you listen to him in Thousand Suns, he's pretty much the guy that's going out and finding secrets and torturing people. So he's an interesting character for sure.
Oh yeah.
And not to mention a really nice model too.
Yeah.
Model's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I've seen lots of people doing lots of good stuff with him. So
nice.
Nick, if you want to do Big Papa here, one eye.
All right, so Magnus the Red, Primarch of the Thousand Suns, coming in at 495 points. He's one of the most expensive Primarchs, without paying the extra 170 points to give him his new special rule. He's got Weapon Skill 7, BS 5, Strength 7, Toughness 6, Wounds 6, Initiative 6, Attacks 4s, Leadership 10, Save 2+. So, getting into the rules that everybody's so interested in, he has all the regular rules that any Primarch has. We have Sire of the Thousand Suns. Sekhmet squads and Legion Terminator squads may be taken as troop choices for a Thousand Suns primary detachment with Magnus the Red as its warlord, and no restrictions owning to cult arcanas applies to the compulsory units of the army, which is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it really gives you the freedom to do whatever it is that you want to do with your force. The other portion of that is all models get to use in your army get to use Magnus the Red's leadership as their own for purposes of morale checks and thinning checks. And reserve rolls for units in your army may be re-rolled if the controlling player wishes. So
it's pretty good.
I think I've used that one more than anything else in his special rules. Just that rule alone is just so versatile and so useful. So Arch Sorcerer. So Magnus the Red is a psyker with psychic mastery level of 5, and he harnesses the warp charge points on the result of a 3+ when attempting to cast or manifest psychic powers. Magnus the Red to suffer perils with the warp. His controlling player must roll 3 or more 6s when attempting to manifest psychic powers, rather than the usual 2, and any result of a 1 on the perils of the warp is re-rolled. So,
which is nice.
Really good to be able to work around that, so you don't just lose him. He gets to re-roll that, and he also has Arcane Litanies, so he gets to say, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Nobody saw that. So Magnus the Red randomly generates 5 psychic powers from telekinesis, pyromancy, divination, telepathy, psychic demonology, and biomancy, and you can split amongst the disciplines however you choose. He has the Horned Raiment, which gives him a 2+ armor save and a 4+ invulnerable save. In addition, if he's struck with a weapon with a destroyer special rule, the amount of wounds it inflicts is reduced by 1. Do note that that does not have a minimum of 1. So if you get hit with D3
Oh,
from
yeah.
a destroyer weapon and you roll a 1, he doesn't take any damage.
That is pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Sixes still
then
just kill him, yeah.
Yeah.
6s will still just kill them.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
6 plus D6 minus 1, you're still looking at a minimum of 6.
Yeah.
Nothing really you can do there. So, but it's still a really cool special rule.
Yeah.
It is.
So then he has the Blade of Anunanatra, which is, it's a two-handed melee force weapon with +2 strength, AP 1, which puts him, without taking any buffs from psychic powers, he's sitting at, with his weapon, is at strength 9, AP 1, striking at initiative, which is nothing to frown at. That's pretty impressive. So then he has the Sci-Fire Serpenta, which you remember he does have a little finger pistol, which is also nothing to sneeze at.
That's right.
Range 15, strength 8, AP 2, assault D3, Soul Blaze. So basically, he's shooting AP 2 crack missiles at you from his finger, which is probably not a pistol. It is probably just another psychic power that he just.
He's just going pew
Definitely.
pew.
Yeah,
That's all he's
definitely.
I got you and you and you.
Yeah, exactly.
Then he has the Eye of the Crimson King. When selecting targets for his psychic powers, all models within range are assumed to be in line of sight, except those inside transport vehicles or buildings. All such attacks have the Ignores Cover special rule, which is huge. I mean,
Yeah.
being able to just, all of your psychic powers are always in line of sight and ignore cover. I mean, a lot of the psychic powers you're casting, I mean, if you're trying to boost Magnus, he's going to be rolling on Biomancy. All of them are AP2. Having ignores cover, that's the kiss of death to most units.
Yeah.
Then he has Phantasmal Aura, where enemy attacks directed at Magnus the Red or any infantry unit he has joined suffer a -1 penalty to hit. Barrage weapons directed at Magnus the Red or any infantry unit he has joined add +1 to the scatter roll when applicable. And I know we're all familiar with how uncommon a -1 penalty to hit is and how much of a big deal that is.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind that that is not just a shooting attack, that also applies in melee.
Yep. Yep. So everybody's going to be hitting them on 4s, basically. It's just.
Yeah.
It's a really good ability.
Or 5s.
Or 5s, yeah, depending.
Weapon skill. Yeah, it's a fantastic ability. And then Mind Wrath, which has since been fact. So basically, the Mind Wrath was taken away. It was originally pretty ridiculous, where you add 2 to the warp charge cost to cast a spell, and then you roll 2d6 and add that to the strength value. If you exceed 10, so if you get 11 or more, it counts as strength D, which was completely broken. And I mean, I'm guilty of bringing that to Bill's attention at the first LVO after the release of this book, in a mega battle where it was, I think it was 3v4 or 4v5. We were outnumbered by an extra player. And I brought this rule to his attention and basically said, "Are you sure we don't want to not allow this to happen?" And then proceeded to deep strike Magnus in and cast a D Nova of everything within 18 inches. Basically.
Yeah, it was go to town, take him out.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I deep struck into an entire unit army really of knights. So I mean, it was an ideal situation for that. And I mean, without that, we were handedly losing that battle, simply because my whole army was deep striking, and then we were so basically the first turn we were down 2 players. But it's okay because we had a warlord, so
That's right.
yeah. So that's been since changed. So Mindwrath was pulled and put into a new special rule called the Unleashed Might of the Crimson King, which is he gains Mindwrath back with a minor caveat of rather than 2d6, it is 1d6, and it cannot exceed 10. So makes that fair. Then he also picks up the ability to ignore. I don't remember what they called it, but he picks up the ability to cancel any Perils of the Warp effect on the table once per battle. So basically, he can cancel one against himself, and then he can cancel one anywhere. So really a useful special rule. Now the other side of Mindwrath that I didn't mention is that it doubles the range of the psychic power. So very, very powerful. You end up with like a smite turns from 18 inches to 36 inches and ignores line of sight.
Yeah.
So really a big deal. That change increased his points to by an extra 170 in order to it brings him up to what is that 660 or it's 175 points, brings him up to 670 points after after all the upgrades.
Yeah, which still is still decent because he's not counting as Lord of War, right? So it's not restricting him in any point levels that you're going to be playing, which is really nice. I don't think you can there's no way to downplay Magnus is very powerful in game. Definitely has a lot of attributes that they do bring up in the fluff, but they don't really go through all of it. Like you never really get to see him at his full zenith of rage and whatnot, except I think right at the end before he gets his little adjustment by Russ. So yeah, no, it's an awesome character. The model's gorgeous, honestly. I know I definitely wanted to be picking up one myself just so I could actually paint up the diorama base and have him and Russ both going at each other and do some nice airbrush work on the powers flying through his hand and whatnot. It's really nice.
Those two releases side by side, they were, I think, probably some of the best work that they've done for the Primarchs.
Yeah.
And even without the scenic base, the two of them, or the diorama base anyway, the two of them are just gorgeous sculpts, and they really encapture the feel of that character. They did a really good job of putting the essence of Magnus and the essence of Russ on the tabletop, which I love.
No, they definitely did excellent work on it. So
that kind of wraps up Thousand Suns, eh?
Yeah, it does. It definitely does.
Well, if anyone has anything else they want to add, something we might have missed, or just something they want to add from some story or some kind of something that happened from a game they had, or
any questions that you guys have, especially if it's got to do with either army building or tactics or anything like that, please ask on the comments. We'll get you in touch with Nick so you guys can talk about it and definitely try and share the knowledge, share the forbidden lore where we can, right? So
Well, I guess I have one other thing to add about them is part of one thing that I'm really disappointed in the Thousand Suns Legion in Book 7 is the what's actually written about Thousand Suns. And I know it's a very common complaint about a lot of the Legions is they cover really flesh out a lot of the characters in A Thousand Suns. So you end up going over the majority of the the 9 cults and or the 9 fellowships, and my 2 favorite characters are definitely not in this book, and that would be Belek Uthazar and Hathor Mott, which I would love to see rules and models for. And I really feel like I was really disappointed when the Thousand Sons Legion Praetor came out, because it looks like he's going to be Uthazar, because he's Terminator Armor Praetor, leader of the Sekhmet, and even has the scarred out eye that was Uthazar's idea, and he got the Sekhmet all behind it, and they all did it. And then he's just a regular Praetor. So I was a little disappointed, but it did give me a fantastic model to
for
build
sure.
and paint.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if Saul Tarvet's coming out many moons later after the book release is anything to go by, you still get those models. So
it's a big opportunity for it, bro. Big opportunity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of characters in the Horus Heresy.
Yeah, exactly.
Pump them out.
Exactly.
And the character line does so well. The Horus Heresy character series is some of the best-selling items on Forge World.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Well, I guess, yeah, that wraps up Thousand Suns. So again, Nick, thank you for coming. We really appreciate you coming back a second time, translating through the warp with us. And as much as Zinich tried, we got the last laugh today. So it worked out pretty good. Definitely.
What do they call it? The Great Ocean, I think the
Great
Thousand
Ocean.
Suns call
Great
it?
Ocean.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Great Ocean. Yeah.
It's in a wane right now, so it's all right. So again,
I was able to come ashore for a little bit before I
That's
get pulled
right.
back.
Yeah.
That's right. Again, yeah, thank you for coming, and to just kind of go over again, Nick is part of that group, the Warmongers, and they always have a good showing at LVO. So I know we've a lot of the boys from Bad have had some good games against their players. So 2021 will be no exception. And yeah, again, we're looking forward to seeing what Zach does with the Heresy event for 2021. So hopefully we'll see a bunch of you there. If you're listening and you want to go, I highly recommend it, because it's a great time. You get to see some of the most beautifully painted armies, like in the Heresy scene, and there's a real passion from the players there. So it's really good.
Yeah, it's the one event that I go to regularly, and it's also one of the places that you can go and see some of the most beautifully painted and beautifully put together armies all in the same place. And it's just a fantastic event. I strongly recommend it.
Definitely. Well, awesome.
If you guys are listening on podcast, you can find our YouTube and Facebook page under Bad Tabletop Gaming.
Yep.
And for the rest of you guys, if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. We do have Instagram, Facebook, and we do have a merch store.
Yep. And all those links are in the description of the video as well. So
yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for watching, guys.
Toodaloo.
Thanks, guys.
Catch ya.
See you.